I
Hello?
think you'll have to
Yes.
drag
Right.
Raven in.
Hello, Phoenix.
User joined your channel.
Hi, Phoenix.
Or should we call you Lieutenant Zeelie?
User joined your channel. User joined your channel.
Right. Before we do a quick debrief,
User joined your channel.
and before the whole shit out session that I'm gonna rain on you fuckers just now. You guys know about this whole campaign and what it's all about, right?
What is it all about?
It's about what happened in actual real life.
Yeah.
Right? So on 1974 there was a guy called Lieutenant Zeelie.
User
And back in the
disconnected from
day he
your
was
channel.
22 years old. And he was on the left flank of a patrol combining in thick bush in pursuit of terrorists. Now, we can reference to this for tonight as well. Two enemy machine guns opened fire on Zeelie and Corporal Hillebrand. So Lieutenant Zeelie and Corporal
User entered
Hillebrand
your
was
channel.
immediately on the attack. Hillebrand was pinned down close to the enemy position, but Zeelie, without thought, basically, and personal safety, he stormed the enemy position and forced one machine gun to withdraw, and he overpowered the other. In doing so, he lost his life. So, in this regard,
We were bloody accurate.
and I don't want to sound weird, but let's call Phoenix the Zeelie for tonight. Because he tried to save your asses by popping smoke and then got killed in by doing so.
Yeah, it basically boils down to the same thing.
So, but I want us, I did post a link in general. If you guys would please just go and read that. I think that's the whole purpose of the whole thing, is to remember the fallen and not to forget the history that our country has gone through. So, yes, he's also the first South African Special Forces soldier to be killed in action on the border, Zeelie. Okay, so we went in, the approach was good, the kit up was long. We got the scouts, we went into a location, we chose one. I don't know whether it was the biggest one, but we did encounter a large, roughly large force. If there were 30 to 40 people in the whole area that we know about, I think we killed about 20 of them. I'm not sure. Sustained casualties, 1, and some light wounds, and some walkers also sustained, or we got some injuries in terms of that. We won the engagement, we flanked with the vehicles, we attacked, we overwhelmed, and we basically followed through by inspecting the camp. There was nothing left. We pulled back. That was the whole scenario, and we all got back to base, well, 98% of us. what went well is we did move in an ordered fashion. The approaches, the attacks, that was good. We succeeded in what we had to do with the time we had. So I think yeah, that's what we did right. Yeah, we had a light force trying to flank us. Yeah. Yeah, it was 4, maybe 5 guys that I saw. I definitely saw 4. I think, in general, I can't say about what went wrong. We worked with the plan. We tried to pull them out of the forest. They refused to come out of the forest. Once they engaged you guys, then they started moving into the tree line. And then that's when we could engage. I think overall we didn't do too bad. Vehicle movements were good. The navigation was good. The communication between the vehicles with the 3 radios was good.
I
I
do
can't
feel
really
like
say
my
that.
navigation lost us a little bit of time.
It did, and also the reason for me choosing 3 vehicles instead of 5 or 4. But unfortunately, fortunately, I think that actually did work out. We got to the end, we had enough time. In training, we did this, and we did it on foot from waypoint 3 or 4. So technically, the time we spent to get to waypoint 8 in training is precisely the same time we had with the vehicles. Now, we lost a lot of time because I thought, well, we used 30 minutes to get to waypoint 8 from the get-go, but we used 38 minutes just to get up.
But I just want to add, Raven. You say that we wasted some time, but I think we finished the mission in exactly 2.5 hours, maybe 2.5 hours and 1 minute. But I mean, it's still on time.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. My bad.
I think we were lucky to. There was a lot of waterholes, and we found them pretty much fairly early.
Yeah. What I will say is also, reason it took so long is because we were trying to figure out what the hell to do about Liquid's uniform since it wouldn't let him put on a normal one. Well, I mean, that wasn't the problem. The problem was Liquid literally could not put on a uniform.
I will add to that we did initially start all by lining up and doing the kitting up in an orderly fashion, one after the other. But if we alternate the fire teams so that they all start at a different building and work in a circle, that might also cut down on time.
Don't think so.
What was it? Dragon to the
Engineer Bravo. Engineer Bravo.
yeah.
Yeah, but what he did is he logged, he left the game to get his sound or something, and I think when he came back, the resume didn't work well. And, like he didn't spawn with his kid. Spawned naked.
User disconnected from your
Hmm.
channel. User entered
Another
your channel.
thing, Dragon 2 Actual did not have access to a radio because the only way to access the radio was to be in one of the front seats, and if you did that, you lacked a compass, so it was difficult to navigate.
The driver just should have shared it with you.
He couldn't, like he literally couldn't share the radio.
No, not really.
Okay, from my side, navigation needs to be, we need to be top of our game. We also need to know about the limitations of the radios and the compass visibility in the vehicle so we can get around that. We now know that the guy sitting in the back of the land is the only one who can actually see his compass. So if you need to be a navigator, sit there.
Boys, I really don't complain about the navigation. We did lots of waypoints in off-center areas, didn't use roads, and we got there on the second.
Okay. Again, it's not a concern about the navigation itself. It's the fact that the landies basically only let you use a compass from the back seat, which is a pain.
Yeah, that's bullshit, that I have to say.
And search by fire doesn't work as well as you expect, and yeah, okay. I think if there's anything we were to train from this, well, actually, this is a good way of thinking about it. If there's any sort of training you guys like to do based on all this, what would you like to say? Like, what would you like to suggest?
Well, I think the search by fire actually did work. We should have just waited a bit longer. Yeah.
Okay.
I think initially we had a good plan with the vehicles, Overwatch, but then sort of when we took casualty, vehicles were a bit too close to use them for what they're good at, and that is to give fire support from long range. They were in between the fight. I think that made it sometimes difficult to get a good angle, and I know the terrain played a part, but I think the vehicles could have moved further around the south, maybe, or around the to sort of cut into the sides of the contact coming in.
We did do that though.
Yeah, but that was more at the end, if I'm not.
No, we moved way around. We pulled back and then we moved way around. We couldn't see anything, and then I went to Phoenix's body with the vehicle to go past them to draw them out of the forest, and that actually did work. Then we pulled out. Then we got about 10 to 11 contacts that we all engaged. Then we went back again, flanked all the way left together with Muppet's team, and then they went in. I know Sharky was a bit hesitant and he said, I must pull back, but I was on the left-hand side of the forest while the other two vehicles was in the approaching side. It's a good point you have. It's hard to implement when a scenario develops, but yes, it's a good point you have.
The problem that we had, at least on the right, was that we could not actually provide fire support from further back because we simply didn't have the visibility.
Yeah.
One thing I would have explored perhaps is the we cut down our mobility because we had to fetch the one team in the rear the whole time, and there are some vehicles around base. I mean, next to the medical tent, there's some unarmed landies and truck. It would be interesting to find out whether we could
potentially have used those just as a transport. Then we could stash that and without fear of the enemy using extra firepower, if that was the concern.
Well, not
According to
regulated. We only had 4 Victors,
yeah,
4 Land Rovers. So yeah, we went any other allowed any other assets.
Overall, I'm happy with the way things went. I think with the search by fire, I would have preferred to stay at the hill where we first spotted the contacts, because when we moved up to that closer hill, I think we put ourselves too close to the bush, and that's why we almost got into cuck. But overall, I'm happy with the way things went. I think it went better than I was expecting.